Hello, friends. And under the heading of where should we be right now at this very minute, we are taping this on Final Four Saturday, and it is within a minute or two of the tip for game one, what it would have been. Listen, our hearts go out to everyone out there at this trying time all around the world, and our hearts go out to those of you who have been in the middle of this. We grieve for those who have lost the battle, those who have lost a loved one. And we understand where our place is in the world right now as far as the sports universe. But I know so many of you right now have been longing for the NCAA tournament. Of course, we're no different. And we just thought we would get together at this very minute at what would have been the tip for game one down at Atlanta and bring some of my friends and colleagues from CBS together just to talk a little bit of basketball. We've got Bill Raftery at his home down in Florida. Hello, Billy.
Jimmy, how are you?
Tracy Wolfson's at her home in New Jersey. Trace.
Hi, everyone.
Gene Steratore at his home outside of Pittsburgh. I'm here at my home in California. And I just got to say right off the bat, I miss you guys so much. Tracy, what have you been up to? What's been going on in the household?
Well, I said the silver lining of all of this is we would have been on the road for a month away from our kids, away from our family. And I've just been trying to embrace it and enjoy it and spend as much time with my kids as possible, whether it's the virtual schooling or breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sitting down at the table, playing board games, doing a puzzle, watching a movie. And then on the other time, when my kids are doing their schoolwork, I decided to kind of put myself back to work a little bit. And I started back my blog called Stories of a Sideline Mom. And I just write about what I'm thinking, write about the time, because as you know, we are so used to just keep going. And it's really hard for us to sit still, especially at this time.
It is. And another reason I thought we should get together, Raft, I think America right now just needs to hear at some point during this conversation, onions.
I was going to save it for later, but
later.
I've been reminiscing about all the great wins I had as the Seton Hall coach. I got over that quickly, frankly. I thought about calling the many referees that were so good to me. The only one I could think of was Gene's dad in the old days.
Well, it's like Tracy said, there is parts of it that are a blessing to be able to have this family time. And we've been homeschooling our little ones, Emily and Jameson. I've got my oldest here as well, Caroline. We've all been nesting now for, sheltered at home for 3 weeks. And I don't know, Gene, you actually still have a pretty big enterprising business you have to carry on at this time. But what's it been like for you?
Yeah, we do have a business, Jim, that handles, half a dozen of these high demand or highly requested items right now. So, I have been personally being very cognizant of seeing my family who are somewhere close by, and I have a son who is expecting his first child and my first grandchild, good Lord willing, here in September. And the emotion of not being able to see them or be near them right now is very high, but we're doing the right thing right now. I am suffering from officiating withdrawal though. So I am, I'm trying to rule on anything and everything. I keep timing the washing of the hands to make sure it's 20 seconds or I blow the whistle.
Hey, Raph, I'm going to start with you, then Tracy, jump in. But do you find yourself also like in a time warp about where you would be at any given moment? Like I just set us up here that we'd be tipping game one. In fact, I'm looking at the monitor here. Game one would be tipping about this very second round. And what would we be doing right now? I even wonder who would be in the game. But do you ever have those kinds of time lapses in your head?
It's crazy. And I've watched a lot of the games during the week from years gone by, many of them with you and Billy Packer even. But yet, it's at this time we'd be sitting with the players, which I know you love the most, and gleaning these little comments that they might enjoy about the head coach, no matter how big he might be in the basketball world. They would tell us those secrets, knowing that they were sacred with us.
I would have already been basically 5 hours into this day. I would have done the off the bus interviews with the coaches as they're arriving and, talking to players as they're getting warmed up and finishing off our stories and doing reports into the pregame show. And then, really getting ready for our open, which we all kind of, rehearse a little bit, make sure it is just right, and have the most important information at the top there. And then, as you know, it's just read and react, and that's what I love most, and I miss the most about what we would be doing is getting in those huddles and listening to what the coaches are saying and the player. Who knows? We could have had Tom Izzo, yelling at one of his players again, or I absolutely Tony Bennett giving his inspirational words. I miss it. I miss it so much.
Well, last year was one of the great years in the history of the tournament, and that's not hyperbole at all. Yeah, I mean, just had one of the richest stories we could ever try to document, with Virginia going from where it had been the year before as the overall number one seed, and then coming back the following year and winning the whole thing. And some of those wins were just so improbable the way they happened, and we got to see 4 of their 6 tournament games, and there was the Purdue game in the regional final, and just incredible to see the Kihei Clark pass that kept things alive for them to get the game into overtime, and then to win in overtime again against Texas Tech in the final, and the Kyle Guy hitting the shot against Auburn. I mean, my gosh, one of the great ones. Rap, you've seen him for some 40 years. How did you rank that one?
Well, it's right up there, no question about it. I also fell in love with country music because of Chris Beard, listening to all the Nelson songs. And but you mentioned the Carson Edwards Purdue game. But what strikes me, and Tracy will remember this, standing on the floor 2 years ago, and we had the coaches around us from UMBC, and you said, I don't wish some harm or a loss to anybody, but I'd love to be part of a 16 beating a 1. And little did we know. And then to me, the renaissance that Tony Bennett and his staff put together, we all asked, when did you start? He said the next day when they got home after that game. But what a magnificent job he and those players did. You're right. One of the top games of all time.
It's for me, by far my number one memory of any Final Four I've had a chance to cover. I mean, this would have been my 11th. And so, but it was right up there. I was sitting back and watching because I don't have to rush off the court. I get a little bit of time. I go and do the losing interview. So I just sit back and I watch the confetti fall and the reactions of the players and the coaches, and to see Tony Bennett and how he dropped to his knees and hand to his head, and the emotions that overcame him, and his father and family there. I certainly will never forget that one.
It was amazing what Tony pulled off. I mean, just an exceptional person, an exceptional coach. And what a hire we had a couple of years ago when we brought you on board, Gene, for both the NFL and the NCAA tournament. And you had a very busy night a year ago tonight. Your memories of some of those crucial calls that were more on Monday night to follow, but what do you think back and remember?
I remember that was the most pressure I'd ever been under going into a basketball game, because I wasn't actually on the court refereeing. But then as the semifinals started, Jim, when an officiated call happens near the end of a game, made or not made, we know it's going to become part of the story. And with the Auburn Virginia game, no exception, where we had a shot in the corner and a whistle blown with, I believe, 0.6 of a second remaining, and the right call. And, at the end of the weekend, officiating wasn't the true story, which in my world means that we had a great tournament, and then just the environment. And of course, being with all of you for the first time, and hopefully many more to come.
Many more to come. Don't forget what we're doing now. When a year from right now, we're in Indianapolis, and we're playing basketball at the Final Four. And by the way, when we get there, I guess you could say Virginia's still the defending national champ. They had a chance. Tracy, you know it, Raph. This team was peaking at the right time. This was another great coaching job by Tony. His team was getting ready for a run. And he was kind enough, when we reached out to him, to pass along some remarks about what this has been like for his team, seeing the tournament go away, with his team being so prepped to make another run. Here's what he had to say.
As Raph and Jim know, so many times the tournament comes down to, who's hot, who's playing really good basketball, and who's healthy. And with our team this year, we had won 8 in a row, and had won 10 out of 11. So it was exciting for us to see just how far we could take it, and what would have transpired based on our experiences of last year. But we tried to make a conscious effort to really celebrate the regular season. We played 30 games, and the regular season has so much value to our players and to us, and then celebrate our seniors and the legacy that they left behind. So we tried to do it that way, but there really is nothing like the NCAA tournament. And again, what we got to experience last year, and as I know, and so many know, that this dang tournament, it can produce a lot of pain, but then it can produce memories and joys that will last forever. But to not do it this year was tough, but absolutely the right decision. But the tournament is a great thing for so many people, and we're so hopeful for the following year to bring that joy back.
You know, gang, the one word that I kept hearing from Tony was the word joy. And that is one of the things that makes college basketball so special. I mean, there is so much joy around the event. Of course, Monday night for the champion salute. But joy is definitely a word that we should all remember right now. And I think the message of what Virginia did last year, overcoming odds, I think it's something right now as we're trying to find things that can inspire us. I think this Virginia team packed a pretty powerful message, Raft, last year.
Well, you have to enjoy the process, and that's what they did. Down and difficult moments during their coaching career to get these kids back to play. And without that process, you don't have the joy of a championship, and they certainly prevailed.
Well, you're right, Raph. You know what, Jim, Bill, he has a question for the both of you.
Does this mean we're the reigning national champs 2 years in a row, and do we get another trophy? Maybe you can help me with that.
Listen, there's no doubt, Raft. They're the champs. They get another year to kind of carry that with them.
Listen, you got to knock the champ out. Give it to him. He deserves it. Why not enjoy it?
I wonder what we missed out on. I'm sure it's been on everyone's minds, and the kids, the teams that had unbelievable seasons that were taking place, ready to make a run in the tournament. What do you think this would have been? Tracy, I'll start with you. What do you think we would have had in the tournament this year?
I was looking most forward to the strength of the Big Ten coming in, maybe 10, 12 teams, who knows, how many teams were able to make it into the tournament this year. Everyone from Michigan State, who was on a roll, in Wisconsin, to Juwan Howard's first year with Michigan, to Rutgers, Ohio State, Penn State. I mean, the strength of the Big Ten to see if they can win a national championship for the first time since 2000. But, to be honest, we would be tipping off, as you said, right now. And one of the moments I was looking most forward to was my son, Dylan, he's turning 14. And he had the opportunity for the first time to be a ball boy at the Final Four. So I was really looking forward to it. He was looking forward to it. A little disappointed, but the show must go on, and hopefully I'll get the opportunity next time. But as for who would wind up there, who knows? I mean, there were so many great teams deserving of the opportunity.
Jim, I knew Tracy would get Michigan in there somehow.
Of course.
Conversation. Why not?
Go Blue.
For me, we've all talked about Dayton all year. That just to see them get that opportunity, Obi Toppin, San Diego State, I think they were for real. And I think these kids an opportunity. And then Penn State, sort of an insignificant thing. Lamar Stevens, I think he needed 7 points to be the all-time leading scorer, and the plug is pulled. And they would have had the opportunity, mentioned in your Big Ten team. But Jim, how about Gonzaga? Maybe an opportunity, or Duke starting to play well. And you mentioned Virginia on a roll. So there's so many things that we won't be able to see transpire that will be sorely missed.
How come you didn't mention Seton Hall? Come
Seton
on,
Hall,
Brad.
he's getting too much attention lately, Willard, though. But they have the pieces that could cause a lot of damage. And I think it would have been one of the most thrilling beginning to ending NCAAs that we've had.
Gene, how about you?
You know what? You guys hit on all of the ones I was thinking of. The strength of the Big Ten, naturally, and then just the parity. I think throughout the whole season, which really lends itself to those shining moments where you have that mid-major or that unspoken that just comes out of nowhere and just creates that great story. But I know one thing: whoever would have gotten there, it would have been an amazing path and journey on our way to this evening for sure.
Well, I know, Jim, you got a chance to see your Houston Cougars. We got a chance to be there. And I know you thought they could make it all the way. But who do you think would have been crowned champion at the end of this one?
Well, thank you for letting me get my alma mater. It's an equal time here. Kelvin Sampson's built the program back to a magnificent level. And yes, I think they would have been a really tough out, probably playing in an 8-9 game and then giving a 1 seed fits. I don't know who they would have been matched up against, but next year is going to be our year. I was just listening to all the teams, and you hate to leave anybody out. Raft, I heard you mention San Diego State. What a season they had. Baylor all year long.
Good point.
Could have been there. Who knows? Florida State out of the ACC. There just were so many rich stories, and it was just, I think, in a lot of ways, it was a stranger odyssey on the road to the Final Four this year because you had so many of these teams that aren't used to being kind of at the top of the rankings of, hey, who we got here, Rav?
This is our grandson's Scotty Herbst. He can hit a ball further than I can, Jim. It doesn't surprise you. So we got Cam too. There she is. Just out of the pool. A little show off.
I'm out of the pool. No, she got out of the shower.
Hey, listen, this is what it's all about. But I think the tournament was headed for most unusual kind of configuration once we got to Atlanta. I just think there were so many people that had a chance. It wasn't going to be about necessarily the Blue Bloods. By the way, I don't want to overlook what Kansas did this season. And Bill Self's team watched the replay of the 08 game, and I thought, man, they were poised to win it again, 12 years later. Let's just get some final thoughts. We're approaching halftime of game one here after all. So, Raft, I'll begin with you.
For me, I hate to use the word disappointment, but so many kids that may never get the opportunity or their school. Hofstra comes to mind. An opportunity to play in this tournament. Seniors who maybe would have enhanced opportunities. Dante DiVincenzo a couple of years ago, terrific player, just sprung on the scene in the tournament. All of a sudden he jumped. Derek Williams years ago, because of great play in the NCAA, he jumped to a 2 pick at Arizona. So just a lot of opportunities that these young people won't have a chance, to reminisce for years and years about their play in the NCAA tournament.
And the fans also had their tickets. Seeing on Twitter, everyone's posting all their tickets and, how excited they were to follow their team and finally make it. For some, they don't get the opportunity often, and this was their first time. For some, they've gone consecutively to these tournaments. And, I've been, tweeting a lot, and my hashtag's been missing the madness, because kind of that's how I feel right now. I'm just missing that. The game, the excitement, the fandom, the joy. I'm trying to bring it back with my kids out on the basketball court or watching TV. But I also know it's bigger than that. And we're all going through a lot, and it's a difficult time for everyone. And just a thank you to all the hospital workers and doctors and nursing staff and everyone. And, Gene, people like you providing all of those items and materials that we really need right now. And if I can just urge everyone out there to stay home, because this is how we're going to be able to get past this and back to our normal lives.
Well said. And, I think just tailgating on that, look, whoever would have made it to this tournament, even in the first 64 or 68 or to the Final Four, they all faced amazing challenges and adversity throughout their time as players and people. And they would have succeeded in crossing and covering those hurdles and challenges. And you know what? Today, our national champion are those health workers, and they are those frontline people, and they're the champions right now. And I think what we do at this point is, we miss what we would have had, but we accept the moment that we're in, and now we are all fans. of the champions of life here. And I think it behooves us all to do the right things and to get back to what we do best, and that's see each other and enjoy the sports around this country.
And you know, Jim, all the coaches always talk about family and the support and the ability to bounce back from adversity. And that's what we're all about at this point in our lives, really sticking together, helping one another, and just praying for these people who are on the front lines, and certainly those that are stricken with this vile sort of sickness.
Again, I miss all my friends. Thank you for the time and the visit. People have no idea what that month is like. The road to the Final Four, away from the court, the preparation, but as well as the time that we get to spend together, just enjoying every single step of the way. And we'll make up for it next year. But Tracy, well said too. Stay home, folks. Stay safe, stay positive. We're all going to get through this, and we send out our heartfelt thoughts and prayers to all of you out there. And if you're missing college basketball, believe all of us when we say we miss it too. But we want to get our world back on its axis as soon as we can. And God bless you all at this difficult time. Thanks for sharing a few minutes with us. And we thought we'd give the last word on this occasion to the man who won it all a year ago for his Virginia Cavaliers. One more time, back to Tony Bennett. Bye, guys. Bye, Raf, Tracy.
Bye.
Hey, thanks, pal.
All the best.
The message that I would share to those who are watching is, and especially for those who are serving, who are on the front lines, and for those who are suffering, who maybe have the coronavirus and are in the hospital and are uncertain of all that's going to happen. The message I'd share is that you're never alone. You are not alone. You are covered and loved by your family, your friends, and people that you don't even know. And for those of us who have a faith, we know the greatest truth of not being alone, but everybody's at a different place with what they believe. But I think it's so important, even though you may be by yourself or you're entering into situations that are so uncertain. So many people are caring for you and thinking of you and trying to buoy you up with their prayers, their thoughts, and what you mean to us. So please know that you're never alone.